All right, how is everybody tonight? Welcome to the jam. Welcome to the GGDA. What January? What year? 2025. 2025. First meeting of the year. Thanks to all of you for showing up. One more scream for January. And you all are missing pizza, but I'm glad you're joining us on the live stream. We got a special treat all through the night, but we're going to start with a bunch of really cool game demos here. And we're going to have a rep from each of the games come up and give us their elevator pitch. They're going to tell us what the game is, they're going to tell you about it, and where you can find out more. So let's start. Introduce yourself. Then come on. No, get rid of the microphone, or they won't know anything about it. This microphone is not broadcasting to the crowd. It's just this.
Okay, so I am... So my name is Sagar. I am from Team Agalaeus. Agalaeus is a card game that we've had in development for 2.5 years now. And this is a tabletop game. And basically, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's very similar to Fire Emblem. So it's a game where your objective is to defeat the enemy player's cards. And the whole point of this game is really, you're supposed to use your wits to try to defeat the enemy player. And once you play test,
where do they find it?
So you can find out more by following us on our social media if you want to scan this QR code, or you could just look up Agalaeus on Instagram, and we'll have much more information there. And please follow us there because Instagram is our main. Agalaeus. So that is H-E-L-L. Listen. Well, I have A-G-A-L-L-E-I-U-S.
All right. Now, to get into the life of it all, next person. And who else is, none of the other pictures are in. Go ahead, right?
Hey, y'all, in the room and on the live. What's up? Global Game Jam. Hey, so I'm Misty, and I'm part of the Life Reimagined collaborative, and we're making a game called Life Reimagined. You might remember the original game of Life, which is super basic, and you compete with everyone to make the most money, and we think that's a pretty sad view of life. It's individualistic and capitalistic, but so ours is Life Reimagined, where you cooperate with other players to make the most change for social and climate justice using a donut economics framework. So you can contact us on Game of Life Reimagined, spelled out on Instagram, and I will send you the pitch deck directly, which is a slide deck. But basically, we are running out of time on the climate. Fascism is getting worse, as we know, and no one's going to change it except us. We can't rely on our leaders. We can only rely on ourselves organizing. So the game is basically trying to gamify how we do that together. So would love your feedback, would love your support. Let's make a difference in the world. Power to the people.
We had a number of other games. Any other folks demoing games want to pitch their games? All right. Well, in that case, I will make some quick announcements, and then we'll start the panel on Game Jam success. All right. So, thanks to those who made it out tonight. As you know, our first part of our meetings are always networking and pizza. Second part is the panel. Third part is, again, networking and tonight, checking out very cool games. Next month, we'll be doing it at Gwinnett Tech. We're going to have, you're all coming to Game Jam. We're going to be talking about the Game Jam tonight. We're hoping to have some of the games who are nominated for our Best in Georgia contest demoing at Gwinnett Tech on February 11th. But most importantly, you're going to be the first to hear this. There's a very special panel for that event from Todd Harris, Nabil Ismail, and Brian Grayson, all key former members of Hi-Res Studios, comes a new Georgia-based game development initiative and partner opportunity for indie developers. That's all I'm telling you tonight. So if you want to learn the rest, come out on February 11th to Gwinnett Tech, and you'll get to check out a whole bunch of other cool games. So that'll be our next GGDA meeting. GGDA members get in free, all others $10. Let's see. SimFest, the Columbus Interactive Media Festival. We're putting that on in Columbus on March 8th. Our keynote speaker is James Portnow, the founder, one of the founders of Extra Credits. If you have checked out game dev videos online, those are some of the very best that are out there. We'll also have Bob Carter, the voice of Balrog from Street Fighter, and plenty of other great characters speaking. Number of great panels on game dev. And again, if you are a game dev, it's a great chance to showcase your games. We have free space for anyone who demo the games. Nominees for the Best in Georgia contest will be all get free space there as well. March 15th is the Atlanta Science Fiction Expo at North Lake Mall. Emory has a cool science exhibit there. This is a great opportunity to just go ahead and have fun. It's a free convention, tabletop cosplay, tabletop gaming, cosplay, etc. And the next big event for us will be the April Siege Indie Game Festival out in Doraville. If you have an indie game you want to get out there, our last event, we had great attendance. This is a great chance to sell games, show games, get wish lists, etc. Make sure you apply on our website. All this information is up there. And with that, let's get to what we are all actually interested in, the Global Game Jam! Making games, yeah, all right. So let's bring up a great panel, starting with our moderator, Chris Dodson. Everyone else, come on up. You will want to speak into the microphone. Pass it as you're talking, and please repeat questions as you get them.
All right, welcome. All right, so introductions over here. There we go. You guys want to introduce yourselves? Let's go down the line. Tell us who you are. No, we don't know those. I'll start with me. Sure. My name is Chris Dodson. I teach at the now renamed to just simply Game department at SCAD-Atlanta. Been doing that for 16 years, helping students to make games. Worked in the industry on and off different jobs and contract work in a couple of my own little companies, indie jobs, indie type companies, before I did that. And so that's all about me.
Hey, my name is Rob. I am a recent KSU graduate. I majored in game design and development. Currently, I am a middle school programming teacher by day, and by night, sometimes I stream my stuff on Twitch. You know, all my game development when I have the time and energy. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Zane Everett. I'm a senior technical trainer for Unity. I've been in the position for about 4 years now. My job is to teach people how to use Unity. I've been in the game industry for about 14 years or so. Made several titles, participated in several game jams. At the early part of my career, I helped to organize the Athens Game Jam. Now I help Unity organize game jams. So this is lots of fun. I love talking to you guys about Global Game Jam.
Hello, my name's Laura. I just graduated with my bachelor's in game design here at Georgia State. I'm also a master's student here now, learning virtual production. So I'm doing a lot of fun virtual production in games things. So yeah, I'm fresh in the game industry, but happy to be with all these talented people.
All right. Okay, and I'm just going to mention that I've been at SCAD, the host for the past 8 game jams. So just mentioning that because we've all kind of done this, and we want to, use that experience to kind of try to help you out. So I have a list of questions, so I can keep this going for as long as you can keep talking. So, all right. Now I wanted to note that game jams have kind of changed recently. There used to be that you found out the theme 48 hours. It was a 48-hour jam. You found it out at 5 o'clock. It was a big kickoff. It was a big secret. And after COVID, that's changed a little bit. Now the theme gets revealed early, and it's kind of one of these interesting things where you kind of know, you could know the theme. People know to start preparing teams. So my question for you is, that since game jams kind of almost start before that 48-hour kickoff, do you think people should be doing any sort of preparation before the jam itself?
I personally don't really have a preference. I would personally not, because I just like sticking with the old format where you find out the day of, and then you form your team and all of that. But if someone wants to go ahead and make their team or start thinking about their game ideas, it's their prerogative. I don't think it really helps that much, because when you make your team and then you start talking about your game ideas, maybe that's going to change like the day of anyway. So I'm kind of indifferent on how teams go about that.
Whether you know about the theme beforehand or not, whether or not you decide to create your own team beforehand or not, you should set up a repository if you're a programmer. That should be your number one priority. Set one up beforehand. Be prepared to invite people. If you've already made your team, go ahead and invite everyone. If you haven't, then be prepared to gather everyone's emails and you be in charge of the repository if you're a programmer. If there's more than one programmer on your team, then I guess you guys fight it out. But, someone take charge of the repository, have it set up beforehand. The other thing that I would recommend is if it's your first game jam or you're trying to learn a new tool, and that's something that I recommend coming in, even if you have experience, I use game jam to learn new tools. It kind of gives me a handicap if I'm going to do it, but I get to learn something new. If you know that's what you're going to do going in, go ahead and look up a little information about that new thing that you're wanting to learn. There's nothing wrong with you looking up tutorials, going ahead and getting a little bit of a jump on how to use that tool so that you get better at doing it when the game jam comes.
I fully agree with learning new stuff for game jam. I've met a lot of students who are a little bit nervous to do it because they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Figure that out beforehand. If you've done a couple things and you're like, okay, I'm good at pixel art, but I'm also good at sound design. Figure it out, or you can even do both. Just whatever you're comfortable with. I will say I don't look at the theme until it's revealed, day of, even as a site manager, because that's keeps me. And then I quickly add it to the puzzle. But I will say that pre-production is huge. So just getting set up, maybe being comfortable with your team, figuring out even prepping for game jam with when are you gonna go home, when are you gonna sleep, type stuff like that. Is really important, but I don't know, I'm one of those crunch time, do it in the full 48 hours type of person.
Well, that'll segue nicely into this. So let's say it's your first jam, or maybe you have a team. Well, we talk about ahead of time, you might have come planning a team, right? But let's say that's not your situation. Let's say it's your first jam, or you just kind of signed up, came to a site. What's your advice for fostering a good team dynamic with people you've just met?
That was a fantastic question. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to do an icebreaker game, but I'm personally not familiar with a whole lot of them. I don't know, just introduce yourselves to each other and figure out what everyone is good at, so the team can divide and conquer. Who is your programmer, who is your artist, and all that jazz, or maybe who is good at a certain specific task. When it comes to dynamics, I guess it would be good if everybody had the same kind of goal. What are you there to do at that game jam? Are you there to learn? Are you there to network? Are you there to just have fun? And if you can kind of align that, or at least keep everybody's goals in mind, I think that would be, beneficial. That way everybody is kind of on the same page.
Yeah, so lots of sites do things different ways, and we have many across Georgia. And I'm going to reference a university that actually doesn't sponsor a GGDA site, the HBCU Game Jam over at Spelman. They have a very interesting icebreaker at the beginning. One, you get name tags that are color-coded to what your skill set is. That really helps, so that you can very quickly, easily identify, but they have lots of icebreakers, find someone from a different school. I need 4 people that have different skills. Everybody come up, for a team that can come up, and you don't have to be real teams. It's just enough to talk to people, get to find out other people. First group that comes up and meets the criteria of whatever it is, gets a small trinket. It's fun. But that's what the site organizers are there doing, is helping to create those icebreakers, to get people to talk to each other, to meet different people. And it's okay if you come with a prepared team. it's really possible for you to not only just have a full team, but a partial team. You can come with 3 people and you know that you need, like, you guys are 2 programmers and artists, and you know that's weighted, you need a sound person and an artist. Like, look for those dynamics. And you can go and talk to other people to find that out. And that really helps. As far as your team size, thank you. As far as team size and team dynamic and makeup, I really recommend between 3 and 7. Don't go much bigger than that. Like, for a game jam, you're gonna get weird. It's gonna be offset in different ways. And scope the game that you're gonna create based off your team size, but really you want a balance of artists and programmers and someone that can do sound. And that sound role may overlap with a different skill. That's really what you're looking for. Balance of artists and programmers, somebody that does sound.
Solid. I'm really liking that idea with the icebreaker.
Are you gonna open this up?
Maybe. Probably for the time. I got like a week. I'd also say just coming in with the same mindset, especially with like thinking about like what you want to get out of the game jam. I also think like if someone's in here to have fun, you want to pair up with the same people that are having fun. I think a little bit too like I want to make a game jam. I'm going to do this to put it on stage. It's like really different mindset. You gotta find somebody that's like, okay, I'm here to have fun. Then they're going to have fun with you. I think that's super important, especially when it comes to like it's 3 in the morning and you're somehow like stuck and you have a bug and nothing's working. You want to still have like that. Okay, it's screwed up, but we're having fun and it's over in like 12 hours. It'll be okay. It's really fun and really nice when you get a team like that. Yeah, I also think team comp is like a huge thing, especially when you want to like weigh out responsibilities as well. Like make sure I always love using some sort of like task organization. Like SCAD is really great for that. Just sort of like keep up. I'd also assign somebody to sort of kind of like a team manager because you get bouncing around and then you get especially for bigger teams. Oh yeah, because you want to like make sure people are responsible of like, okay, I'm working on this one thing, and then like you're working on another, like not just sort of like decide things for the thing. You need to set deadlines for yourself. It's super important, just so that you feel like you're participating, because it can be hard to get down and feel like you're not contributing.
That's the idea of these questions, are digging out all kinds of good advice here. All right, and I'm going to let you take this one next. We're going to mix it up. Start on your side, because you've said some things that lead right into this question. So I've seen personally, you mentioned smaller teams. I've seen some 10-team experienced rock star Friday night breakdowns. And my question would be, if a team finds themselves stuck or struggling or in conflict somewhere in the jam, what do they do to pivot, regroup? Do they break the team up? What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, I've witnessed those too, and it's always just like, especially as like a site organizer, you're like watching it and you're like, oh god, y'all okay? Y'all want some like pizza or something? Literally, I was about to say, go get lunch. Literally, like, put your stuff away, close your laptop, and be like, okay, you can take an hour-long break, you can go get some food, talk about something that isn't game jam, and things will start flowing. Especially if, like, maybe like 2 people are butting heads and they're disagreeing with something, it's great to get them into, like, a different environment, because it can get stressful. I mean, you've got 48 hours, it's a lot. So I think that's super important. I also think, again, just going back to that, planning things out, making sure that you guys are responsible and all that, yeah.
So I think number 1, it's important to recognize that this is an event to have fun. Number 1. Number 2, it's an event to learn. Number 3, and maybe this isn't in particular order, these are all pretty top, to make new friends, colleagues that are interested in game development. Putting too much pressure on yourself to win best in Georgia shouldn't even be in your mind when you're sitting here doing this. It should be to learn, and if you're enjoying the process and doing what you're doing, it'll flow and you'll make something good. Skill dependent, but you learn your skills, right? So if you're having trouble, conflict out of a team and decisions, it's great if people can come together, whiteboard it out, and come to a compromise. But if that's really, really not working, throw it all out the window. Put some stuff on some cards, or find some other way to randomize it. Get your key ideas, especially the ones that are conflicting. Somebody draw cards, someone roll a dice, like D&D this. And just roll with whatever it is, and sometimes that creates something that is unique, interesting, fun, funny, sad. It's okay. All of it's good, just decide, hey, whatever the dice say, or whatever the random number generators say, that's what we're gonna do. And, okay. This is a good way to resolve conflict, because now it's not in any one person's hands. Everybody put the ideas down, and fate can decide.
I think take a break is just a big one. If you're like freaking out and melting down, you need to refresh. So, take a big step back, take a break, get some pizza, maybe see some other people's games, or even maybe like talk about the problem you're having, and maybe you can figure it out that way. The rubber duck method, all your problems out.
All right, I've just been informed that the SCAD Classes are watching this, and I've got to do a shout out. So hi night classes. And speaking of Professor Spencer, who's out there teaching, you mentioned we always say it's not a competition, but it is a competition, because there's the best in Georgia, but it's not a competition, but it is a competition. So balancing that, and I think that can get people a little bit heated. So that's good advice there. All right, so I'm going to dive into kind of one of the questions that is really almost too big of a question, but it kind of represents the whole problem with the jam itself, and I say problem in terms of challenge, I guess. So how are you going to prioritize what features to cut? You've got art, you've got code, you've got design. It's Friday night. When should you be working on the prototype, and how do you know what to cut when you realize that you're maybe out of scope?
So within like 3 hours in, you should have your idea down. If you're getting much past that, you guys need to figure something out. You should start making your stuff. Do the random number generator thing at that point if you can't figure it out. But by about 3 hours in, you should have an idea solid. Come in Sunday morning. If there's anything left undone, cut it. It doesn't need to be there. That's kind of that. When you start, and you start to work on things, 1 is the magic number. It's a lonely number, but it's magic for game jams. You work on one thing, one level, one boss, one puzzle, whatever it is that your game genre is that you're working on, work on one thing. Get it good, get it complete. If you finish, that's great. You can move on to another. But get one mechanic down. And once you get that roll and that stride and that going, what you'll essentially have is something that slowly builds into a vertical slice. And you have something that's always working. Once you get that first thing down, it will work. You got a complete game. You're done. But if you've got more time, you can keep going. Right? So that's the deal. Everybody work on one thing at a time, whatever your major hook is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I go about for my capstone students. I tell them to work on a minimum viable product, your MVP, the least amount of code you need to make the most amount of it. So the most important, the core things, those should be like the things you prioritize like immediately. And then you add everything after that, as you go. It might help to categorize like the different things y'all talk about, like core mechanics, things that have to be in the game should be in one category, things that are nice to have, and then extra, And then once you get through that core list, that's good. You get through the nice to have, that's good, and then maybe you get some extra gravy on top of that.
I think like a big part is also in before you actually jam, you have a week and a half, go back and play last year's games. see like what they did, see how far they got. Like maybe even like if you're talking, I know some people jammed last year. If you haven't jammed before, talk to them, see how their processes were. Be like, okay, what was like your Friday idea and what happened on Sunday? You know, like did you have an open world RPG and then suddenly you had a platformer on Sunday? Like see how that worked out. That would be like my biggest bet, is to get a good idea before going in. Even if you've already jammed before, just remind yourself like, okay, this is what I did last year. This is like what we were able to create is also really huge. I'll also lean back to like y'all's ideas of MVP. Yes. You aren't gonna make a full-scale game. It's gonna be more of a demo. So I think like sticking to that core gameplay loop of just like you're doing this one fun mechanic, and then if you can get that really polished and really nice, that can be a beautiful game. Like the Best in Georgia winner, SCAD's like amazing. He was like a car dealership guy. It was such a simple like core gameplay loop, and it was so fun, and they did it so well. And I think it was because they didn't like overexert themselves with extra features. I think that's a big thing to think about.
Don't be afraid of the Sunday mission.
Okay, so we talked about we can know the theme ahead of time now, and we've got a competition where we judge, and sometimes we're just trying to evaluate the games at the end. The theme kind of gets everybody started, but here's a question. How important is that theme really?
I mean, your game should relate to it somehow. How you relate it to that is pretty subjective, I guess. As long as it's like obvious, like that's what the inspiration was, and you know that you can interpret it that way. I think that's good enough. Personally, I'm kind of flexible on it, but I don't know. It's really subjective. I would have to see it and be like, does that fit the theme in some kind of way that I can interpret? Yes? Good. That's really all I have for that.
So I recently helped to execute a game jam in Abu Dhabi not too long ago, and that had a very strict theme associated with it. We had one team that decided, you know, we've got a 9-year-old on our team. We're gonna do whatever the kid wants. So I guess my point there is, how strict do you stick with the theme? Are you having fun? Are you learning something? I mean, yeah, if you can twist it in, that's what most people are doing. Go for it. But the real thing, have fun. Enjoy it. You might not win on theme points if that's any judging criteria at your local site, but you're having fun and you're learning.
It is what it is. You know, it's personal choice. I feel like that's also something to talk to your team about. Like, hey, how much are we going to put into the theme right now? I think the beauty of game jam themes is that they are pretty loose and they're like adaptable. So I think like if it works with your genre, great. If it doesn't, work it in. See how it goes. Again, as long as you're having fun, you're having a good time, and making something that you want to create, because that's what game jams are all about. I think that's really important as well.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about having fun, having a good time. So how do you think participants can ensure that they're going to be learning and having a good time, even if maybe they don't really have any relevant skills, or even if their project isn't, you know, quote unquote successful?
The biggest thing that I would say, making sure that everyone has a good time, is look out for your fellow teammates. Be a good human. Make sure your friends are eating and sleeping. I know that it's only 48 hours, and most of you guys that are participating are young, like, it's fine, right? But really, as young as you feel, if you've gone 2 days without sleep, and you're continuing to program, and you're like, man, I don't understand. What's wrong? I can't figure this out. And you're trying to debug, and really all you're doing while you're debugging because you haven't had sleep in 2 days is introducing more bugs. Yeah, you're not having a good time. Nobody's having a good time at that point because everyone's frustrated. Take a look at your friend that is sitting there and not slept for 2 days and trying to debug and say, hey man, you need a 30-minute nap. Or go grab a Snickers. Because that honestly really helps. I'm older, and I would really say that I need at least 4 hours of sleep on a game jam night. I would recommend at least 2 for younger people. And you can catch up on it, maybe, hopefully. But yeah, be a good human to your other humans. The biggest way to make sure that everyone's having fun.
Checking up on people, I will say my favorite thing last year is at 2 in the morning I walked around with a sheet of dino stickers, if y'all received those. Biggest thing you could do is because you just had to awkwardly check up on them and you'd be like, hey, snap out of it. Like, sorry to disrupt your flow, but so checking up on people is huge for that. But coming on to like the learning side of it as well, even just set yourself up with some tutorials at the start. Like if you know you're going in and you're learning something new, or you're just going back on what you've already learned, setting yourself up to be like, I'm gonna watch these videos that are gonna set me up, or I'm gonna go look at the documentation. Make sure that you're getting something out of it. So have a plan for like yourself, not just for the team, and allow yourself to have fun through also learning. So like take those 10-minute breaks where you're doing something, but then acknowledge that you still have a deadline for things.
So, if you're like new to game jams, you're gonna be learning like all kinds of stuff. So it doesn't hurt to just hop right in and just pick anything and just start learning about it. If you've been doing game jams for a while, I would just pick something you're not familiar with or have like a slight interest in and learning how to do it. This past game jam, global game jam, I learned how to make ragdolls because I've never done that before. I thought that would be really fun with the theme that year, which was Make Me Laugh. You know, just have bodies flying all over the place. So, you know, if you're new, just pick something to learn about. Like, my first thing was learning how particles work, you know, in Unity. So I was like the particles guy. You know, it doesn't have to be amazing. You don't have to learn the whole engine. Just pick one thing.
I've got to do the plug now. You brought it up. Thank you. I don't feel as bad about doing it. For great tutorials, learn.unity.com if you're wanting to use Unity.
All right. So we're going to not ask what's your favorite engine choice. We're just going to... so, some personal experience questions here. You've been through all these jams. What's the most unexpected thing that you learned from participating in a jam that you didn't expect?
It's a lot easier making friends that way, or networking, than going to network events. At least for me. You know, I personally kind of struggle with the whole formal networking thing. It's just a lot of fun. You know, just have fun, make friends. If you want to compete, compete. I'm kind of even keeled on competing and making friends. So those are both things. Double check.
Just the maybe the most unexpected thing. You weren't planning on getting this out of a jam, and you walked away really with an unexpected kind of experience or something.
Okay, well, yeah, learning that was a good way for me to learn how to network. Also, I ended up getting like a freelance gig through a friend that I made through a game jam once, which that was interesting. So yeah, unexpected opportunities can come up through those that network that you develop by going to these game jams.
kind of piggybacking off of that, not exactly the networking, but potentially, this won't happen for everyone, but you can walk away with a company. You can walk away with a game that you can put up and work with. I know that's unexpected for a lot of people, although there are several cases here in Atlanta throughout the years where new companies have spawned out of the Global Game Jam. Whether or not they've invested in it, there are a handful of companies who have used it as like what it's just prototype the next thing. It's probably unexpected for a lot of people that's what goes through for them. They did not expect that at the beginning, and yet that was I mean, that's not everyone's journey. But for those people, I think that's really unexpected and really fulfilling.
I got two things. Backing off of that, my favorite Global Game Jam class is, if y'all heard of Surgeon Simulator, that came out of Global Game Jam. That's a Global Game Jam game. It's such a fun thing. And I'll go for the technical answer. I didn't know how to build a game. I didn't know how to make a build, and that's what I learned in my first game jam. There we go. I learned how to network too, but that's the one thing that follows me.
Learned how to network on your first jam? That's impressive.
Yeah, just a little bit of an unexpected answer from you guys, but I realized that just want to throw in my first jam. I couldn't believe that I got as much done with the team in 48 hours, and I'd been working with that team for 2 years, and we hadn't gotten that far. So, let's see. What's the weirdest or funniest game jam project you've ever seen?
My friends made it. They're in the room. They made a dating sim of our friend. That was not Global Game Jam, but it still gets updates till this day. I think it got updated this week. Yeah, it was made in RemPie, and that is still the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I love it to death.
I remember at GSU, there was a very odd firefighting simulation game where you could go around and start the fire but also put them out. So yeah, that one was interesting.
I'm struggling to think of ones now that you've asked specifically. What I picture in my head as like the strangest thing I've seen is I remember a past game jam game where you shoot your dad's back. I don't remember what it's called, but that image is still in my head.
Long ago, someone made a 2D wrestling game. Someone faked Macho Man Randy Savage's voice to it. It was
Sorry about that image. That's never going to leave it. So, a little bit of back to process and technical question. How has your approach to game jams iterated over time? Games themselves iterate. How's your process and approach to a jam iterated?
Learned how to keep my scope a lot smaller, like super small, and if you think it's small, make it smaller. Yeah, that's honestly the main thing. I've also like honed in on, hey, I want to use game jams for networking, because that's just how I do that well. Yeah, it's just, that's it.
I learned to work on one thing at a time. Complete the one thing and then move on. Don't work on 3 things, work on one thing. I'd also say that my process has become a little bit more succinct. Like, I don't know if this is just time and experience. I fall into leadership roles on my teams quite often. I've learned how to get the whole process. Let's get our ideas out and giving everyone a chance to get their ideas out, if anyone has ideas, and mismatching those. Do we get something that's fun? And then delegating a bit. And like, this is what this person is good at and what they want to do. That process.
Let's double up on scope. Don't talk about my first game jam game. I also think voicing my own opinion, like I feel like with my first game jam, I really didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, I'm not good at games, why am I here? I think like learning that like it's fun, you're allowed to fun, you're allowed to learn, is a big thing. And voicing of like, I kind of want to make this silly fun game, and then people actually like leaning into it is really nice.
Kind of on that, having that open, honest communication. Be honest with yourself, be honest with your teammates. I'm interested in doing this, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to accomplish it. Put that out. Like, I've never done this before, and I want to give it a shot. And hopefully your team should be supportive. We're all different. But set those expectations as well. I want to try this, but I don't know. It's okay to have that conversation. Be open, be honest about it.
Awesome. And I want to say, it occurred to me that that's very good advice to be open about that, because I've seen a lot of jams where a participant, it seems to be a affliction of programmers especially, who you'll say, can I do this? And speaking as someone who does program, and the programmer will say, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And so I've learned the question is, have you ever done it before? Not do you know how to do it. Yeah, and we're gonna triple your time if you haven't actually done it yet. So, all right. So we get into those situations where we're jamming, we realize we're out of scope, we're not maybe going to finish. Can you each share an example of a time that you had a really creative solution that you or your team came up with to overcome a seemingly unstoppable major obstacle?
It's not a bug, it's a feature shipping. I mean, yeah, it happens. Sometimes you, especially in game jams, have results that you did not expect. But if it's funny or fun, keep it. Does it become your whole new mechanic? Not on Sunday. If it's Sunday, cut it. But if it's before Sunday, like, maybe you just got a new twist. And since it's already made, you don't have to make it. Work around it a little bit. As long as it's not breaking the game, even that might be okay if it's like mechanics breaking. I mean like bugs breaking. If it was like you can't run your game, but if it's just messing with mechanics, okay, fine. Spread stuff out in your level. And if you're jumping too high, like, doesn't matter. It's fun. Maybe that's now the story. This person jumped into some Spider-Man web, and now he can jump for forever. I don't know. Cool, fun. Have fun.
I think bring an external hard drive, just in case, because I've had a jam where someone unknowingly pushed 100 gigs worth of assets into the repo. And mind you, I said yes without looking at the file size. So I kind of blame myself on that one. But bring an external hard drive if you can, because then you can use that instead of a repo.
Ask somebody. Literally, that's what we learned, was we were staring at this thing for like 3 hours, and we're like, oh god, we hate this stupid thing, it's not loading, our game kept crashing, and we were like, we're done, we walked away from it, and then somebody like awkwardly complained to like another jammer we barely knew, and he's like, oh, I know how to fix that. And he walked up, fixed it, we were just like, I hate you, thank you so much, you're in the credits now. Yep, he was credited. We were just like, thank you. So yeah, biggest thing, if you're having trouble, go ask somebody. If it's killing you, dude, there's mentors.
Which on that, if you're watching from KSU, I'll be at the KSU site all weekend. If you have any issues, you can come talk to me. I don't know where I'll be in the site, but I'll be there and working. And if you've got Unity issues, I can help out. So on the repository, pushing a bajillion gigs. When you set up your repository, if you're using Git, make sure to enable Git LFS. Large file system, it's a very simple command. You can look it up online. Git has documentation for it. Set up Git LFS. If you're using Unity version control, you don't have to worry about it.
Also, just to corroborate what y'all just said, just talking with people, I remember, like, one of my global game jams, we were having a problem with our repository. We talked to someone in, like, the break room, and they were like, oh, just, like, do this with your repository. And we're like, can you show us? And they did, and they fixed everything. So, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
I got ready for questions? I've got one good one left, and then we'll move on. So just tell me, what is your most proudest moment or the proudest game that you've worked on in a game jam?
I would say, like, the past two I've been really proud of. One, I remember I coded a boss fight for the first time, creating, like, a kind of state machine. The other, I managed to create, like, a player that, worked very quickly. And I was very happy about, accomplishing that. And that, I might have to think about one more.
Fruit Castle. This is a game that I made with my daughter during a game jam over the pandemic. It was just her and I. We sat down and I had her work on 3D assets for the first time. I programmed the majority of it. She did some visual scripting on some of it. It wasn't very good as far as the game and playability, but it was ours, and she enjoyed the process. That's my most memorable.
My first one was I solo game jammed this like tiny game jam we had in class at my very first game studies class up at UNG, and I was like had no background in game development, and I was an RPG maker, and I was just like, this is awful. But in the span, I think it was 2 weeks, and I built it and I did it, and it was this tiny little like pixel art platformer, and I like pushed it and showed it to my roommate, and she played it for like 2 hours, and I was like, it definitely doesn't have a 2-hour play time. And I still play it to this day, and it's fun. It was something that I was so proud of because I did it. Yeah, I overcame like every obstacle. It felt good. Yes. Behold. Yeah, I know.
You want to have them come up? All right. Questions, anybody? Yeah. That was a lot. So what information to help jammers? Okay, and where, or just kind of what information do you want to send out? Okay, all right, yeah.
If it's Unity, we have on the Unity Learn page, and I think there's some information there that's applicable to other engines as well, but on the Unity Learn page there is a Getting Started on Your First Game Jam tutorial that has a lot of good information about building teams, setting up Unity for the first time, things you should look out for in a jam, and making your first build. It's a great little short tutorial.
I think just having links to like just all the standard tools that I imagine they would use, so like a game engine, like a Unity, Unreal, or Godot, those are good ones. If they're interested in more, you can provide more links to like GitHub, make an account on there, get set up. I personally use GitLab. Just send out links to things that are generally useful, repository stuff, engine stuff, maybe like image editing software, Blender, link to the Blender demo, that kind of thing.
Quick. This is a talk that GGDA does every year, and you can find other bits of advice that maybe we didn't think of on the GGDA YouTube.
Words from my mouth. How dare you? I'm kidding. As long as you guys get to hear it. I will also plug the Global Game Jam website. It has like a bunch of good stuff. They have some free assets you can use that work great in Unity. So I'd recommend that as well, because they've got some great stuff, because they've been doing this for years. They also have a prep week this week, where they have similar to this, but throughout the world, talking about Global Game Jam and Game Jam success.
All right, another question? I saw your hand back there, the back. So how many Georgia State participants have there been in the past?
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm the site organizer for this site. We had 98 people sign up last year, which I'm very proud of. But I would say I think we had 24 games last year that got submitted. I think then we had like 5 or 6 that submitted post-mortem. So I guess like 30 teams. Pretty proud of those numbers. We also on our Discord we have a channel for finding a team, so if you want to find good people, great class.
How are we doing on time? SCAD site's up. The actual site itself. So we've moved to a new building. If you want to come over and jam with us at SCAD, you can. We have all the great art software, by the way. So you don't have to use Blender if you don't want to. We do have a lot higher security now. So what I'd recommend is get on our Discord, get into communication with someone from the school. And Parker over here is our president of our GGDA student club. So it's a good person to reach out to, because we're going to have to be able to set up a time to get you in through the layers of security. So as long as we know you're coming, we can let you in, but that's kind of the biggest thing there. We'd love to have you. We only ask that you make sure to have at least 1 or maybe 2 SCAD students on your team. That's really kind of our request. Yeah. And we do have a place to eat next door now that we're near actual food. Yay. Yeah.
Same here. I'm not co-pres anymore, so I'm not as familiar with every single detail. I do know that usually they have like some kind of Discord that you can join. So watch out for that. I don't know where you would find it if you weren't like a KSU student, because I know I would find it through the game dev Discord. Their global game jam site. Okay. Well, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, check the global game jam site on Global Game Jam, their website, and check the location page for KSU. They might have a Discord link. They do? Okay. Well, there you go. Hey, there you go. Cool.
More questions? Yes. Okay, so the question is, if you start too early with, say, your GitHub repository, can you get in trouble? I'm not sure with whom exactly, but I get the idea, right? So
That's what I kind of wanted to ask was with who? I mean, how much can you really get done and still have it match the theme? I mean, that's kind of my take on it, and is that I don't know what all you're trying to initially set up, but it's your initial files. You know, if you have some framework that you've created in the past and you're wanting to bring that in to reuse it, I also don't see that necessarily outside of the spirit of, you know, what it is. So.
yeah, just one thing real quick, and then I have, the only thing I would say is I have noticed that it can sour people a little bit if they feel like you've walked in with basically a pre-made game that you skinned sort of to fit the theme. That's but you're not going to get in trouble. It's just some people are like, really? So I like the idea of a framework that can kind of go in any direction, but you're not overcommitted to one type of game.
Yeah, you've done some kind of physics engine in the past, and you want to use that instead of Unity built in. Okay, groovy, or whatever. But you're making a completely new game using the physics engine. You should do whatever. Every site's going to be different. I know as I have been running game jams for Unity, especially where prizes have been involved, I have made it so that anything that you had to do that you got outside of what you made directly, whether it be assets you got off the asset store or Turbo Squid or wherever else, or if you use generative AI, you need to let the judges know that that's what you've done. And then the judges can make whatever determination on that. If some sites will say no generative AI. The last one that I ran that way, we just needed to know. We made it. It wound up that everyone used a little bit, but it was also pretty much everyone's first game jam. And it was in a college setting, so it was really just getting them to cite their sources was the biggest thing behind it. So that's going to be up to the sites and the organizers there. I don't know if you considered something like that, but yeah. And I also would give the warning, especially about generative AI and for stuff gotten off the asset store. I've got a pretty good knowledge of the stuff that's on the Unity asset store. If I find something that was there and you didn't tell someone, I'd give you 0 for every category. And it's plagiarism at that point. So, yeah. That's my take on it.
We can team up, because I know everything that's on the Unreal Marketplace. Fab. And then we can destroy plagiarism. I wouldn't say get in trouble, because, like, it's a game jam, no one's gonna be like, how dare you, get out! It has to be communicated, but I also think, because when you go into a game jam, you're not like, hopefully you're not thinking, oh, I'm gonna win this thing, I'm gonna make such a good game. But if you, like, you're there to make fun, you're there to learn. We talked about this the entire panel, is you're there to get something out of it. So if you come in with, like, pre-made stuff, as long as you're learning, yeah, because this is
Last question? Yes. Would we recommend branches for programmers?
Yes. Yes. And I'll give a little more clarity there as a programmer. That is really how you should be working all the time in production. If you're at a company, and if you're not, you need to change that as soon as possible. It can be kind of loose. Maybe you're working on an individual feature, and that's what your branch is. Maybe you got a Justin and David and Karen branch, for each one of those individuals, and they're working on it. When you finish something, you merge that main. I don't think you need to be as rigorous as you should be in a production setting, but having everybody work on their own things and having that be separate from main is crucial to keep things from catastrophically break.
I don't even program during game jams, and I know you should. So, because I put my levels on this separate little branch, so I know to do that.
If you use Unity version control, something that you can do that you can't get with Git is for assets that are not very good at being merged, things like scenes, prefabs. You can check those out so that other people can't mess with those while you have them in use, and you can check them back in. I believe that's a feature of Perforce as well. Don't quote me on that one. But yeah, that's a nifty little tool if you decide to use Unity version control.
So last jam I kind of figured out how that, like, branching and then merging things in, how that process kind of works. Basically, what I would do, work on your own thing in your own branch, and then when you're about ready to merge it and let everybody else see and work with what you made, merge it in like a separate branch. Don't immediately merge it into main. So basically, you're going to make another branch, and you're going to merge into the dev branch, and then you're going to work out any of the problems you have in there, and then you merge it into main, and then that should keep things flowing pretty smoothly.
And kind of to that, push small, push often, merge frequently for a game jam. Like, you get an idea complete, merge them together. Do critical merges on Sunday morning. You're still going to have work that goes throughout the day on Sunday, but most of your big stuff you want merged together by Sunday and the beginning of the day. That way you can work out any issues and decide if anything should be cut, what's going on for the rest of the day. That Sunday morning should kind of be great. We may have bugs, but most of it's together. And that's when you begin cleaning up.
And speaking to the art side, if you're going to use version control like this, somebody please sit down with the artists and explain to them what's going on, because the artists are the ones that picked on the programmers early. The artists are the ones going to break your version control and your merges. So. All right, thanks.
Anyone want to pitch whatever they've got up online really quickly before we get you off the stage?
I stream on Twitch sometimes. You can follow me on there. Just RibRob. It's really simple.
You can hear it's not so lovely today. You can hear my lovely voice on Unity Learn if you go into the live sessions and look up finite state machines.
Or Baptie.com, and then that QR code. Yes. Well, that one. CMII GSC site. Try to make it cool this year or something.
Excellent. Thanks for our panelists. Yay. Y'all can step down. I'll talk about BIG, and we're done with this. All right. Or I'll stand in front of you. Your call. I'm going to do a quick announcement about Best in Georgia. Y'all can stand behind me or step down, whichever. Thank you all for joining us. Sorry about the audio issues during the stream. We will work on those for the next stream. Again, February 11th at Gwinnett Tech. We do have the Best in Georgia competition. You heard that mentioned a few times. Each jam site will nominate one game for it, and we'll be demoing these games, and then they'll have a month to keep working on them under professional mentorship. the companies, Tripwire, others in this area, PulseWorks, their pros are coming in to mentor the winning teams. The teams win a lot of things, but the main thing they get is this professional mentorship. So you get to see the game as it was at the Jam, and then we're going to show it to you again a month later, and you get to see what they've done. And one team will walk away with a lot of professional services prizes. So thank all of you for joining us. Thanks to all of you in the audience, and especially to our panel. Lots of games here. Keep playing the games. Finish off the pizza, and we'll see everyone in February, if not before. Thank you.